I first met her when I was 9, and she was barely 10. It was the year the colonies on Aridia were finally connected by the light-speed transit corridors, and kids like us ran through the dusty streets of the frontier towns pretending we were starship captains and alien diplomats. She had the wild, silver hair of the Aridian nobility, though she was far too young then to understand what that meant. Most of all, she had eyes that seemed to see everything at once, sharp and unyielding, as if the galaxy itself had whispered secrets to her in her crib. We met at the market, both reaching for the same glowing orb of condensed Aridian sunlight, a trinket, really, barely enough energy to light a room for a day. I teased her, calling her greedy, and she scowled. But then she smiled, that sly, knowing smile, and said, "One day, I'll come back. And you'll see me as I am meant to be. And when I do, you'll marry me." I laughed and rolled my eyes. At 9, promises are like dust in the wind. But her voice carried a weight I couldn't explain, a gravity that made my stomach twist with both fear and excitement. I shrugged and said, "Sure, Queen. I'll be waiting." Then she disappeared into the crowd, and the frontier world swallowed her like a phantom. Years passed. I grew into a man, a pilot, and later a trader navigating the outer colonies. Life was simple but dangerous. Pirate raids, corporate espionage, and rogue AI swarms became my daily companions. And through all that, I never forgot the girl who had promised to marry me. I even kept the little glowing orb as a keepsake, tucked into a compartment in my ship's cockpit. It was my talisman, a reminder that the galaxy held some measure of magic, however rare. The first inkling that the universe was about to change came on a routine run to the capital of Aridia. My freighter, a battered yet stubbornly reliable vessel named the Iron Comet, was carrying exotic minerals from the moon Pharos. I had barely entered orbit when the communication console lit up with a priority signal. "Captain Jaren Solis," the voice said. Soft, unmistakable, and painfully familiar. My heart stopped. "It's time we meet again." It was her. I hadn't heard that voice in years, not since she was a child. My hands trembled as I activated the signal, half expecting it to be a hologram, a trick of the Aridian network. The image stabilized, and there she was, regal, composed, the silver hair cascading over shoulders clad in ceremonial armor, adorned with the sigils of the Aridian throne. But her eyes were still the same. Sharp, piercing, and somehow softer at the edges, as if she remembered the little boy who had dared to laugh at her in the market. "I am Queen Alara now," she said, her tone formal but not unkind. "And I've kept my promise. You were to marry me, and the time has come to honor that vow." I blinked. You remembered?" Her lips curved into a faint smile. "I never forgot. I've waited long enough." The ceremony that followed wasn't the kind of thing most humans dream about. It wasn't a wedding in the traditional sense, with lace and music and floating petals. It was a convergence of two worlds. The Aridian throne had decreed that our union wasn't just a personal promise, it was a political alliance, a bridge between human colonies and the heart of their empire. I'll admit, the first moments were intimidating. Alara's advisors were tall, slender beings with eyes like polished obsidian, whispering in a language I could barely parse. Her guards moved with the precision of 1,000 years of disciplined training. And in the center of it all, she stood, waiting for me, not as a girl, not even as the child I remembered, but as a queen commanding a galaxy. "Do you still wish to honor our childhood promise, Captain Solis?" she asked, her voice steady. I swallowed hard. The words that tumbled out of my mouth were honest, raw. "I do, but I need to know you, truly. Not just the queen, not the legend, but the girl who laughed at me in the market. For a moment, she was silent. And then she laughed. A sound that was bright and warm and just as I remembered. Then you shall know me, Jaren. But understand this. The person you knew then has grown into someone who carries the weight of 1,000 lives.
Can you handle that?
I grinned. I've faced pirates, rogue AI, and collapse-prone atmospheres. I think I can handle one queen. In the weeks that followed, I lived in the Aridian palace. I learned their customs, their rituals, their strange, elegant art of diplomacy. But more importantly, I learned her. Queen Alara was brilliant, and not just in the political sense. She could calculate a hyperspace trajectory faster than my ship's nav computer and negotiate with rival factions with a calm I could only aspire to. Yet she also had the childlike wonder I remembered. The way she traced constellations on the palace windows, the way she marveled at Earth music, the way she laughed at my clumsy attempts to navigate Aridian etiquette. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the capital city, she led me to the balcony overlooking the central square. "Do you see them?" she asked, pointing to the bustling crowds below. "See what?" "The lives that depend on me, and soon on us." She turned to me, her silver hair catching the moon's glow. "I promised as a child, but I also promise as a queen to lead, to protect, and to be with you, if you still wish it." I took her hand. It was small and firm, human and alien at once, and I felt a warmth spread through me. "I do. More than ever." The political climate was tense. Not everyone approved of a human marrying an Aridian queen. Factions opposed to interstellar unity whispered threats, while a splinter group of humans saw me as a puppet, a naive boy chosen to distract the queen. Our first challenge came faster than expected. A rogue fleet, comprised of former Aridian warlords and mercenaries, declared their refusal to recognize our union. They seized a nearby mining colony and threatened to use its energy cores as weapons. Alara and I faced the situation together. I suggested a stealth approach using my freighter, while she coordinated a diplomatic front to stall the fleet. We were two halves of a plan, her intellect, my instinct. The mission was dangerous. I knew we could fail. And yet, we succeeded. We infiltrated the colony under cover of darkness, disabled the energy cores, and left warning beacons in strategic positions. When the rogue fleet arrived, expecting to face chaos, they found the colony intact but heavily defended. The combination of diplomacy and tactical surprise forced them to retreat. That night, in the aftermath of danger, she looked at me, her expression softening. "You saved lives today, Jaren. Not just humans, not just Iridians, but everyone who depended on this colony. You've grown stronger than I imagined." I laughed, exhausted and exhilarated. "And you're still the girl who promised to marry me." Her smile was both tender and commanding. "And now I am the queen who keeps that promise." The wedding itself was simple, almost intimate by Aridian standards. We exchanged vows in a small chapel overlooking the crystalline gardens of the capital. She wore ceremonial silver robes, their threads catching starlight, and I wore a uniform tailored to human form, but designed to honor Aridian tradition. When we held hands and spoke our vows, it felt less like the fulfillment of a political arrangement and more like destiny itself. The years of separation, the dangers faced, the countless lives impacted by our choices, it all led to this moment. And when she pressed her lips to mine, I realized something profound. The galaxy, in all its vastness and chaos, had brought us together not because it wanted balance or strategy, but because it understood love. In the months following, our reign became a symbol of unity. Humans and Iridians worked together more closely than ever. Trade flourished, scientific collaboration reached unprecedented levels, and a tentative peace settled over the frontier. We faced challenges, of course, rebellions, rogue AI incursions, natural disasters, but the bond between us became a stabilizing force. One evening, as we watched the twin moons rise over the capital once more, she rested her head on my shoulder. "Do you ever think about that day in the market?" she asked. "All the time," I admitted. "It feels like a lifetime ago." She laughed softly. I knew even then that our paths were linked. I just had to wait until we were ready. Until I was ready to be the queen I needed to be, for myself and for you. I held her tighter. "And I'm ready too. Ready for whatever comes next." She looked out over the city, eyes bright with purpose and memory. "Then let's make sure the galaxy remembers, Jaren. Not just for us, but for everyone who dreams of something greater. Human, Aridian, or otherwise, we can do more together than apart." And in that moment, I understood something fundamental about our species, about humans, about love, and about courage. It wasn't raw power or superior technology or even clever strategy that shaped the universe. It was trust, it was loyalty, it was the willingness to honor a promise made in childhood even after lifetimes of growth and struggle. She had promised as a child. She had returned as a queen. And together, we were ready to face the stars, not as legend or lore, but as partners, as equals, as human and Aridian bound by a promise that neither time nor distance could erase. The galaxy watched as we took our vows, and in some corner of the cosmos, a little silver-haired girl smiled, knowing she had chosen well. And I, the boy she had once teased in a dusty market, realized that some promises are worth waiting a lifetime for. The twin moons rose once more over the capital, their silvery light spilling across the crystalline gardens. I held Queen Alera's hand, feeling the warmth of the years we had spent apart and the weight of the galaxy we now carried together. She looked up at me, eyes shining with the same fire I had seen as a child. "We kept our promise," she whispered. "And we'll keep every promise after this," I replied. Together, we turned to face the people of both our worlds, humans, Aridians, and all those in between, standing united in hope and courage. The galaxy would remember this day, the day a little girl's childhood promise became the bond that bridged stars. As the crowd cheered and ships traced arcs of light across the sky, I realized something profound. It wasn't power or conquest that changed the galaxy. It was trust, loyalty, and the courage to honor a promise, even after decades of uncertainty. She pressed her forehead to mine, and in that quiet moment, I knew the universe had gifted us something greater than glory or victory. It had gifted us each other. The child who once promised had returned as a queen, and the boy who laughed at her promise had grown into the man ready to stand beside her. And together, we would face the stars, not as legend, but as partners, as equals, as humans capable of shaping the cosmos through heart, honor, and hope. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous, but with her by my side, I knew we could meet it all. And for the first time in my life, the future didn't frighten me. It awaited us.